The Diocese of Richmond, Virginia, announced a record this spring. 900 people baptized at one Easter. The Archdiocese of Newark expected 1,701 converts this year, 30% more than last year, 60% more than 2019. Cleveland's incoming class has more than doubled since 2023, and when the National Catholic Register surveyed every Latin Rite diocese in the United States this year, of the 71 that answered, 66 said their numbers were up. 66 out of 71. 5 expected a decline. In a country where every religious trend line has pointed down for 30 years. Cross the Atlantic, and it's not a trend. It's a wave. France, the country that invented modern secularism, baptized more than 20,000 adults and teenagers at Easter this year. The largest number ever recorded there, 20% above last year's record, which broke the record before it. 10 years ago, the adult number was about 4,000. It has quintupled in a decade. And the people coming aren't retirees squaring accounts with God. 42% of France's adult catechumens are 18 to 25 years old. Even 60 Minutes ran a segment this year, calling it the Catholic Church's quiet revival. And when 60 Minutes notices a religious revival, it's not quiet anymore. Something is happening. I'm one of the somethings. 3 years ago, I was a Protestant Bible study leader, and if you're new here, this whole channel is the story of what changed my mind. But today's video isn't my story. It's the data. Where it's strong, where it's honestly weak, and the 5 reasons underneath it, including one nobody in the coverage wants to say out loud. Sources on screen the whole way. Links below. Because a video like this is worthless if you have to take my word for anything. Start in the United States. The National Catholic Register contacted all 175 Latin Rite territorial dioceses, asking how many people were entering the church at Easter 2026. 71 responded, about 40%. 66 of the 71 reported increases, many of them large. Newark, 1,701 expected converts, up from 1,305 last year and 1,064 in 2019. Their Easter Vigil catechumen count alone was up 14% over 2025, 41% over 2024, 75% over 2023. That's not a bump. That's a curve, bending. Cleveland, more than double since 2023. Richmond, a record 900. The reporting notes the sharpest surges in the South and the West. And this follows the pandemic collapse of 2020 and 2021, when initiation programs cratered, which makes the rebound steeper than the raw numbers show. Now France. Because France is the astonishing one. The French Bishops' Conference released its annual survey in March. More than 20,000 catechumens baptized at the Easter Vigil, over 13,200 adults, and about 8,100 adolescents. 20% above 2025, and 2025 was itself a record. Stretch the window. In 2016, France baptized just over 4,100 adults. 10 years later, 13,200. In the most aggressively secular country in Western Europe, the demographic profile, from the bishop's own survey of 1,450 catechumens across 60 dioceses, 42% aged 18 to 25, another 40% aged 26 to 40, 62% women. This is a young movement. And Britain. The Bible Society commissioned YouGov to survey over 13,000 people in England and Wales, published as The Quiet Revival, updating their 2018 baseline. Monthly church attendance rose from 3.7 million people to 5.8 million, 8% of the population to 12. But the age breakdown is the story. Among 18 to 24s, monthly attendance went from 4% in 2018 to 16% in 2024. Among young men specifically, 4% to 21%, a five-fold increase in 6 years. And which churches are they walking into? Not, on the whole, the established one. Among young adult churchgoers, Anglican share fell from 30 to 20%, while 41% now identify as Catholic. The Church of England is shrinking inside a revival happening in its own country. 3 countries. 3 independent data sources, a bishops' conference, a diocesan survey, and a secular polling firm, all bending the same direction at the same time, led by the same demographic. That's the receipt stack. Now let me do something the coverage mostly doesn't. And stress test it. Caveat 1. Not everyone entering is a former Protestant. Church initiation counts 2 groups. Catechumens, people never baptized, often from no religion at all. Candidates, people already validly baptized, overwhelmingly in Protestant communities, completing their entry into the Catholic Church. France's wave is heavily unbaptized catechumens, secular France coming to faith from 0. The American numbers are a mix, and the candidate lines, the ex-Protestant lines, are rising right alongside. So the title of this video is true. Thousands of Protestants are becoming Catholic this year. And it's also not the whole story. Next to them in the font line are thousands of former atheists and nons. Honestly, that second group might be the bigger headline. Caveat 2. The entrance door is not the whole building. The Catholic Church in America still loses more members than it gains overall. Leavers have outnumbered converts for decades in survey data. What's changed, dramatically, is the traffic at the entry door and who's in it. A surge of committed young adult converts inside a still leaky institution is real news. But it's revival at the font. Not yet revival in the pews. Archbishop Olivier de Germay of Lyon said it himself about France's numbers. They continue to surprise, but the real challenge is to accompany them over time, enabling them to become disciples. Hold that quote. I'm coming back to it at the end, pointed at us. Caveat 3. 40% of US dioceses answered the Register's survey, and responders may skew toward good news. Fair. But France's data is a full national census by the Bishops' Conference. Britain's is a 13,000-person secular poll, and they agree with the American sample. When the possibly biased source and the unbiased sources sing the same note, the note is probably real. Caveats filed. The trend stands. So now the actual question. Why? Reason 1. The internet flipped sides. For the Church's first electronic half-century, mass media made faith look embarrassing. Then the algorithm handed every curious 22-year-old a phone full of long-form religious argument, 3-hour podcast debates, Jubilee panels where one Catholic answers 20 critics, entire YouTube ecosystems, channels like this one, arguing about justification at 2 a.m. The French bishop's own analysts point at digital evangelization. The British researchers note that Catholicism, Orthodoxy, and traditional Protestantism found new audiences through podcasts and YouTube. Here's the mechanism nobody designed. The internet rewards content with depth to burn, and a church with 2,000 years of receipts, fathers, councils, philosophy, art, is sitting on the largest content library in human history. Depth finally had a distribution channel. The generation raised on it clicked. Reason 2, the collapse of everything else. Look at who's converting. Young men, 4 to 21% in 6 years. The demographic every institution failed, drowning in dating apps, gig work, porn, and algorithmic slop. They went looking for the least algorithmic thing on earth, something older than their country. That asks something hard of them. That doesn't update its terms of service. Sociologists call it a search for rootedness. Converts I know call it wanting something that doesn't move. A church that has said the same creed since 325 turns out to be a growth stock, in an economy of churn. Reason 3. Suffering came back. The French bishops surveyed their catechumens on what started their journey. The largest single answer, 40%, was personal hardship, illness, bereavement, crisis. The pandemic put death back on a generation's screen. The mental health statistics tell the rest. Therapy culture promised self-optimization and delivered self-obsession. And a wave of people discovered they didn't want coping strategies. They wanted meaning, confession. A God who suffered too. The Church has been in the suffering business for 2 millennia. Demand returned. Reason 4. And this is the one for my former team. Protestantism's own search burnout. Talk to converts from evangelicalism, not the statistics now, the people. And you hear one biography on repeat. Church number 1 split. Church number 2 changed its doctrine when the pastor changed. Church number 3 was 3 guys and a worship band. And somewhere in year 10 of church shopping, the question landed that this whole channel is built on who actually has the authority to settle what's true. Sola Scriptura promised certainty and delivered 40,000 options. Some of that exhaustion walks east to orthodoxy. The same revival data shows orthodoxy growing among young men too. More of it, in the English-speaking data, walks to Rome. My first video is one long version of this reason. It's linked below. And if you're a Protestant feeling that specific tiredness, it was made for you. Reason 5. The one the coverage tiptoes around. Beauty and demand went back on the menu. The parishes packing in young converts are disproportionately the reverent ones. Chant, candles, communion rails, confession lines. And the survey data keeps embarrassing the theory that young people need church to be casual. They had casual everywhere. Casual is the ambient condition of modern life. What they'd never seen was awe. A generation that grew up being marketed to can smell marketing through a wall. And the one thing that doesn't smell like marketing is a liturgy that wasn't designed for them. Because it wasn't designed for anyone. It grew for 2,000 years. The mass video on this channel walks through exactly what they're finding. Incense, it turns out, is countercultural now. Let me compress those 5 reasons into one person. Because I know him. He's 26, raised vaguely evangelical or vaguely nothing, found religion arguments on YouTube during a bad year, a breakup, a dead grandparent, a job that meant nothing, watched the debates the way his dad watched sports, read more theology on his phone in 18 months than his parents read in their lives, tried the non-denominational church near campus, liked the people, couldn't shake the feeling that the whole thing was assembled last Tuesday, walked into a Catholic parish one random Sunday, sat in the back row with his arms crossed, and got ambushed by the oldest feeling in the world. This was here before me, and will be here after me, and it is not performing for me. Sound familiar? It's the mass video cold open. It's my story. It's Nora Brianne's 5-minute video with 500,000 views. It's the guys in Matt Fradd's 3-hour conversion interviews. It's 42% of French catechumens being younger than 26. The statistic is a crowd of that guy and that girl. 62% of France's converts are women, remember, and the Church did not manufacture them. Something upstream of all our apologetics is moving, and every honest bishop quoted in this year's coverage says the same thing. We didn't do this. Catholics have a word for that. And the word is not marketing. Now the section my Catholic viewers might like less, because the data comes with a fuse attached. Archbishop de Germay's line again. The challenge is to accompany them over time. Here's what he's too polite to say bluntly. So I will. The Church is being handed the most improbable second chance in a century. A generation arriving at the font voluntarily, catechized by YouTube, hungry for depth. And the historical pattern for converts who find a cold parish, a banal liturgy, and zero community is that they leave within 5 years. And unlike the cradle Catholics who drifted, they leave with their hearts broken. Every diocese celebrating a record class this Easter should be asked one question. What's your plan for these people in year 2? If the answer is a monthly potluck, we will fumble a revival. Converts don't need programs. They need friendship, formation, and a parish that behaves like what the data says they came for. Something real, demanding, and alive. If you're a Catholic watching this, the statistic in your parish's front pew this year is your assignment. Learn his name. And if you're a Protestant watching, maybe feeling that specific tired that reason 4 described, let me say the quiet part warmly. You are not crazy. And you are not alone. 20,000 people in France, a record line of them in Newark and Cleveland and Richmond, and one former Bible study leader talking into this camera. All found the same door. This channel exists to walk through the arguments at whatever speed you need. The authority question, the canon, Mary, the Mass, the Fathers. All of it. One playlist, linked below. Starting in a coffee shop. Comments challenge. Both teams. Converts and catechumens. Tell me the moment your search started. One sentence. I want this comment section to be the dataset the surveys can't capture. And if this video earned it, subscribe. The sequel on Who is Converting, the young men phenomenon specifically, is already in production. This is actually Catholic. 20,000 in France. Turns out the reports of God's death were premature. God bless.